On First Alert Weather Extra, our next big thing is another cold front on the way. We'll let you know how long winter plans on sticking around this time coming up.
And we're on your side with NOAA's newest outlook on what you can possibly expect this spring.
And we've been waiting on it. It's Thursday, so you know that means it is time to get an update on that drought monitor. We got some good news coming up.
WBRC Fox 6 News. First Alert Weather Extra starts now.
And thank you for staying with us here for First Alert Weather Extra. And I mentioned we got some good news with the drought, but we also have some very sad news. And as you learned in the last newscast, longtime veteran anchor here for the longest time at WBRC, Scott Richards, passed away. And we're so sad to learn that news. I had a chance to work with Scott for several years, which was a true honor for me, somebody from Tuscaloosa that watched Scott for so long. But he was one of those veteran anchors, but a name well known all throughout the state of Alabama.
And I didn't know him, but I can definitely tell he made an impact on the people here at the station, just hearing the stories of everyone sharing about him. So it hurts my heart, breaks my heart to hear that news today.
Yeah, and you know, he really was part of the fabric here at WBRC.
Like
he really was. I never will forget my first time. JP was in Clinton, and we had the Peach Festival happening, and there were storms in the afternoon popping up, and this was my first time to go on television. They said, Wes, be on standby, because if a storm pops up, we need to go to you, because JP's out live in the field. So storm pops up, and all of a sudden they said, well, you're up. So I just remember staring across the studio, seeing Janet and Scott for the first time, saying, I just can't believe I'm here, you know, working with Scott. It was just such an honor.
It's a surreal moment, I'm sure.
It really was, but certainly prayers for Scott's family and our family at WBRC, and certainly I know for all of you watching out there, Scott meant a lot to this community. So we want to turn our attention now back to the weather and show you what's going on. The next big thing, I know it was a beautiful day out there today. We're tracking the next cold front that's going to be moving in from the north, and that's going to arrive tomorrow night. It's going to bring a chance for rain and possibly a rumble of thunder as it moves in from the north. You can see current temperatures right now: 60 in Tuscaloosa, 63 in Birmingham, 60 at Anniston. The temperatures today actually top 70 degrees in several areas. First Alert AccuTrack radar at the moment. I did notice today, and you may have noticed if you open the weather app and you saw some little areas of green there, some light returns. We actually had some prescribed burns happening. We could see that on First Alert AccuTrack today. So if you notice where you are, especially to the south, if it's a bit hazy where you are, that's related to some of those prescribed burns. Weather was perfect for it today. We had nice weather conditions. Tomorrow it will be cloudy. In the morning, the temperatures will be in the 40s to kick things off, but notice no chance of rain during the day. So trying to wrap up out on the job site tomorrow. It looks like a dry Friday on the way. The wind will be out of the south to southwest at 5 to 15 miles per hour, so it will be breezy there during the day. So when does the rain move in? Well, I made this map here kind of timing it out for you. You can see 7 o'clock tomorrow night to 1 a.m. on Saturday for areas to the northwest, 11 o'clock tomorrow night to 3 a.m. Saturday. A lot of this comes in really late for places like Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Pell City, Anniston. And then after midnight, mainly, we're seeing those impacts into the far southern part of the area. But a band of rain is going to become breezy and windy as we go into the day on Saturday. And it looks like those cold conditions there during the day, you factor in the wind chill will certainly be a factor. Highs only in the 40s, and plan for a freeze early on Sunday.
Thanks, Wes. So as far as the cold weather that is on the way, the Jimmy Hale mission will be opening again this weekend. They will open their doors both Saturday and Sunday at 6 p.m. and will close at 7 a.m. daily. It's located at 3240 2nd Avenue North. Officials over the Jimmy Hale mission also asking for donations of bottled water, paper products such as plates and napkins, and food items such as snack bars, oranges, and bananas. And in just a few short weeks, spring will be coming. NOAA just recently releasing their latest spring outlook. We first brought you this during Severe Weather Awareness Week, and now scientists with NOAA's Climate Prediction Center are confident that even though the El Nino pattern is going away, it will still impact our spring weather patterns. This is due to ocean water temperatures no longer being warmer than average, signaling the end of El Nino. The transition from El Nino is expected by the end of spring or early summer, with La Nina conditions expected to develop by early fall.
And in a new study in Louisiana, where Louisiana's wetlands, could be underwater in the coming decades. Scientists say sea levels are rising faster than the wetlands can grow. The study's authors say of the 253 wetland sites it's monitored, about 6% are entirely underwater, even at low tide. If sea levels continue to rise as expected, the study predicts Louisiana could lose 75% of all its coastal wetlands by 2070. And in Wisconsin, after 2 tornadoes ripped through the Evansville community, the effects are still being felt and will be around for a long time. Cody Taylor tells us what residents are doing to get back on their feet.
This is Jeff Deal. He's a homeowner in Evansville that was directly impacted by the tornado.
I was gonna make some chicken coops and have egg-laying chickens and meat chickens. And
He will have to put those plans on pause because the tornado that swept through Evansville took the roof off his barn.
we had to stay with my daughter in Stoughton because we had no power, so it was cold.
While no one in his family was hurt during the tornado, like many in the area, he has a great deal of property damage.
I don't think I'm going to be able to use that again.
And thanks to the community, he says he doesn't have to clean it up alone.
Fortunately, my neighbor is coming with a grapple hook on Saturday and a skid steer, so I'll try to pile everything over there.
Preston Berg is the owner of Norse Lawn Service. He's been offering to help people directly affected by the storm for free.
I just made a post on Facebook and responded to some posts about anybody that needs help or whatever, specifically mentioning that I'm not looking to get paid for it.
During the winter months, Berg's business relies on heavy snowfalls. Since there's not been much snow, he hasn't had any work, and he's decided to use his free time to get back to those in need.
Helping people is the right thing to do. A lot of these people don't have the resources to deal with the storm damage and that. So,
on this day, he was home cooking a meal for his church. But most days following the storm, he was out on the front lines, helping to clear trees and fix damaged roofs.
I helped a little bit over on Highway M, and then some friends of mine from church, we worked down in Albany, down by the campground down there to clear up some trees that were down over there too. So,
as for Deal, he's waiting to see how much damage will be covered by his insurance.
I had personal property in the barn. They'll cover that, but they will not cover the building structure at all. So, and they won't cover the cleanup. So I'm just kind of out all that.
Deal says he and his neighbors are struggling right now. On Saturday, groups plan to help him and others clear up the debris. That caring and supportive community has been a bright light during these trying times.
And in 30 seconds, we take you beyond the atmosphere to an amazing scientific breakthrough in moon launches and medical operations. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to First Alert Weather Extra. Meteorologist Lauren Linehan. If you got any plans for tonight, better head out to dinner, need to run some errands. Let's look at those temperatures outside. Honestly, doesn't feel too bad. We saw some clouds moving in later this afternoon, and so when you have that little blanket of cloud cover overnight, it almost acts as a little nice blanket, so you won't be seeing that issue with temperatures getting really cold outside. Now, you'd still want a jacket. We're at 63 though in Birmingham, 54 in Coleman, 65 in Utah, and 55 over over in Talladega. Compared to this time last night, temperatures have gone up about 5 degrees. So definitely those hints of spring in the forecast for today. Now tomorrow morning, it's not going to be too unbearably cold. We're talking lows in the 40s. So we can deal with that, but we'll certainly be tracking those rain chances too, checking in with Wes in a bit on those. But let's take you above the atmosphere. The Odysseus lunar lander, also known as ODI, has successfully launched from the Kennedy Space Center. The SpaceX Falcon 9.
4, 3, 2, 1, ignition, and liftoff. Go SpaceX, go IM-1 and the Odysseus lunar lander.
Oh, I don't know about y'all, I got chills. Oh, that's beautiful. We love seeing things take off to space. The SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket launched early this morning. It's aiming to make the first lunar touchdown of a U.S.-made spacecraft in almost 5 decades. This comes as NASA continues to ramp up development of spacecrafts to evaluate the moon's environment and potentially identify the presence of water.
And in another neat celestial experiment, it's being called a surgery that's out of this world. Doctors controlled a tiny robot within the International Space Station to perform a remote operation. Kristen Fisher has more details on this major milestone.
Go SpaceX, go Falcon.
Sitting on top of this SpaceX rocket when it launched in January was the first surgical robot bound for outer space.
So Mira is a small surgical robot.
Mira, made by a company called Virtual Incision, arrived at the International Space Station in February, and on Saturday, it did something that's never been done before.
Saturday was the first time that a surgical robot in space was controlled by surgeons on Earth to perform simulated surgical activities.
Virtual Incision provided CNN with exclusive video as 6 surgeons at the company's headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska, took turns operating the robot after it was powered up by NASA astronauts roughly 250 miles above.
The adrenaline was pumping, and I could feel my heart pounding. It was really exhilarating, but at the same time, once I saw that robotic device doing the things that I'm used to it doing, settled down.
Dr. Michael Jobst says he's already performed 15 surgeries with Mira during clinical trials on human patients here on Earth, but he's never had to contend with zero gravity or a time delay of about half a second.
A split second or a half a second is going to be significant. So this was a big challenge.
You can see a left hand with a grasper and a right hand with a pair of scissors. And we use rubber bands here to simulate surgical tissue.
So you could think of those rubber bands as perhaps, blood vessels or tendons or other connective tissue that has elasticity. So we're able to, grab hold of the rubber bands and then take the scissors and just basically to cut them.
All right, I'm going for it.
Yeah. One small rubber band, but a great leap for surgery. Yeah.
Well, that was just so cool to watch. But in addition to someday performing remote surgeries on people in space, they also want to use this technology on Earth in rural areas or war zones where it might be tough to find a surgeon. Still ahead, though, on First Alert Weather Extra, we talk more about your weekend forecast, a little chill in the air, as well as take you beyond the 7-day into some warmer but wetter weather. Stay tuned for more First Alert Weather Extra. We'll be right back.
Well, it is Thursday, so that means it is time for an updated drought monitor. After all the rain that we've had here over the past couple of weeks, let's see what kind of improvements we've made. Let's check in now with Matt and Mickey.
It's Thursday, Matt, and it's time for the Drought Monitor. We need a Drought Monitor song.
I think so. I think we got something special.
We need to work on it.
We're in a good mood, by the way, because the latest drought monitor, as you probably guessed, we've got some major improvements.
You know, I'm surprised we have any drought at all, but we have, it's pretty low on the scale as far as drought is concerned. It's considered abnormal, but you can see on that little code up in the upper right-hand corner, that is pretty light drought.
Yeah, not bad at all. And if the drought conditions are really bad in Mississippi, northwest Mississippi, where they got extreme drought, but lots of improvement. And so we got a comparison from last week to this week. Last week, 74% of the state was drought free. Now it's 84%.
That goes down to most of it. So Coleman County, Blount County, St. Clair, parts of Etowah County, a little bit of Cherokee County, just dealing with a very, very mild drought called abnormally dry.
Yeah, and that moderate drought's just bye-bye. So we are fine with that.
Yeah,
so,
me too, yeah.
Yeah, so here's a look at the rainfall totals so far this month. And of course, this past weekend, we made up for most of those numbers. But over 4.5 inches of rain has fallen in Birmingham, almost 5 inches in Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, almost 5 inches in Birmingham too. 2 inches shy of the average in Anniestown, the model city of Anniston. So we just got a few more inches to go, but you know, we got half the month still left over.
That's right.
It's a leap year, isn't it? Going all the way to the 29th this year.
Yeah, so there's a chance for a little bit of rain, as you know, Friday night, and maybe some small chances for next week, but it looks kind of dry, I would say, in the next 7 to 10 days. But you know, it's we're entering the spring months. Things can go kind of crazy around here. So a good idea to do your weather on the go and get those weather updates.
I got to spin it through again. I just had to bring up, since we're saying goodbye, and that's a look at the Drought Monitor.
All right, some improvements certainly in the drought monitor. Got an incredible photo to show you here. This was sent in from Nick Boone from Abel, Alabama. And what you're actually looking at, that is the Falcon 9 rocket that lifted off during the early morning hours, taking the lunar module to space. And you can see that from Alabama. The sky was so clear last night, just an incredible view out there. If you were sky watching during the early morning and you saw that and was like, what am I looking at? It was that Falcon 9 that was lifting off during the early morning. But great job, Nick, on that photo, and a great job on this photo. How about this one from White Plains? Nathan Harper sharing that's a peach tree already showing some blooms, and I'm here to give you that first alert this weekend. I know we've been talking about some cold weather today. This is kind of what I call the trick me spring. We start to have these afternoons. Notice we reached 71 in Graysville today. Debbie Alexander, our weather watcher, Sarah Porter in Oatman reporting 70 degrees today, and tomorrow temperatures once again flirting with 70 during the afternoon. But watch what happens this weekend. We have the first alert to protect those plants, because as we get into early on Sunday morning, lows from 24 to 30 degrees. Early on Monday, 26 to 31 degrees. Now, freezing to start off. The afternoons will greatly improve starting Sunday, but be ready for those cold, frosty mornings as we move into the start of next week. Right now, we're all dry across the state. The temperatures today certainly felt nice. It's going to be chilly this evening, but not as cold. Let's walk through the hour by hour here on the model data, and we'll take it out to about 10 o'clock here. Stop it, and you can see temperatures still showing 50s in a lot of areas. And Lauren mentioned earlier, we got those clouds moving in, so it's kind of like a blanket effect, right, over the atmosphere, so those temperatures don't fall as rapidly for tonight. In the morning out the door, temperatures in the 40s, well above freezing tomorrow morning, but certainly sweater weather early in the day. Rest of the day, we'll actually see those temperatures, even with clouds around, still manage to reach into the 60s, and it looks like the wind's going to pick up south-southwest at 5 to 15 miles per hour. Here comes a cold front tomorrow night. You can see it enters our northwest areas after 7 o'clock. By midnight, pushing in closer to Tuscaloosa, Birmingham, Pell City, Anniston, and then pushing further south there after midnight tomorrow night. There may be a rumble of thunder as this moves through. There's certainly going to be some gusty winds as this moves in, because those temperatures will take a big tumble. I mentioned Saturday, this will be out of here early during the day. So most of Saturday's dry, but it's going to be a lot colder with that chilly north wind. And then early Sunday, temperatures down into the 20s. Some of the new data showing as low as 23 right there at Coleman. So plan for a cold, frosty start there Sunday morning. Rest of the forecast not too bad. You can see President's Day. If you have the day off, we got some sunshine there coming back for the start of next week. Afternoon highs back in the upper 60s, close to 70 for next Thursday. And as we go to meteorologist Lauren Linehan, Lauren, we're still looking at some, I know it's going to be cold this weekend, but more unseasonable warmth coming back next week.
Yeah, Wes, you know, we'll get a little cool down, but it's not going to last long. And it feels like as we get closer to spring, those cool downs are shorter and shorter and shorter. So we're already seeing evidence of that with the cool down in store this weekend. But let's look beyond that. Now, for President's Day, we should be dry and quiet. But when can the next system come? What about that next rainmaker? What we've been seeing in the data is somewhere around next Thursday, Friday time frame. Right now, we've highlighted next Friday, the 23rd, for the possibility of some showers. I will say, and I'm so scared this is going to change, but next weekend actually looks dry and possibly sunny. So we're going to keep our fingers crossed that it stays that way. However, once we look past that last weekend of February, check it out. Tuesday the 27th through Thursday the 29th, we've been seeing the possibility of maybe a system that could stall out and bring more rounds of rain. Now, this is still over 2 weeks out, so we're not saying anything is set in stone yet. This is just generally what we're going to be watching, giving you that first alert that there may be some wet weather as we round out February. And don't forget, this is a leap year, so we get an extra day of the month. Now, as far as temperatures, like Wes was saying, February 23rd through 29th, as we look at that 8 to 14 day temperature outlook, the possibility of above average temperatures for much of the country. And that does include us here in central Alabama. So what could that actually look like in terms of temperatures? Well, if we look through the end of the month, actually all the way into March 1st, as we look at the average here, our average as we round out February is right around 38 degrees for the low temperature. And so you'll notice temperatures are kind of just right at or slightly above that. So that's why the Climate Prediction Center has said, okay, we're looking at that potential for above average temperatures. So when that translates to morning lows, could potentially be a little briefly cooler next weekend, but we're talking maybe lows in the 40s and the 50s as we round out the month of February. And then as far as high temperatures, generally kind of near or slightly above average. Next week, going to be really nice. It's going to get us all excited for spring, soaking up some of that spring sunshine with a possibility of 70s. And then we could still see generally 60s overall as we round out the month. But what about those systems that could bring us some rain potential? Well, February 23rd through 29th, that 8 to 14 day temperature outlook does hint we could be seeing above average precipitation. So we're going to be watching these potential rainmakers. I will say, though, most of next week looks fairly quiet. We could see a couple of disturbances here and there that could bring a stray shower, but it looks like maybe the main rain chance next week would be Thursday and Friday. But we'll have to watch for some weather as we round out February as well and dive headfirst into March. We'll have a final look at Weather Extra after the break. All right. Well, Wes and Tania, humans weren't the only ones soaking up that spring-like sunshine today. Check out our buddy here in Warrior.
Maybe waiting on a bumblebee.
Yeah.
Hey, we got some colder air on the way this weekend. We're going to show you that. Next chance of rain tonight, first at 9.